February, can you just feel the love in the air? Within most horror movies, love, or characters who are in love, are usually present. It's such a deep emotion that could spark joy, rage, and pain. So why not sprinkle that emotion in when fighting for your life? There are currently 2 movies coming out very soon, just in time for Valentine's Day in 2025. Companion and Hard Eyes. I'm excited for both of these movies, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. At least not yet. Instead, I want to talk about a horror movie that I think isn't talked about enough in my opinion, and I saved it for this month alone because of the film's overall tone. That movie is The Love Witch. The movie begins with a woman named Elaine driving her car as she has an inner monologue about herself. She's just your average girly girl who drives a cute red car, practices witchcraft, and may or may not have purposely poisoned her husband Jerry. She is moving into her mentor Barbara's spare apartment in California so she can get a fresh start. Now, before we continue, I looked up when this movie came out because of the cinematography. She's not really driving that car. And to my surprise, this movie isn't as old as you may think. It was released in 2016. I for sure thought this was released in the 60s, but no. They did an amazing job with costumes, props, and their cinematography to make it appear as if it was a dreamy Technicolor film or TV show from that era. Elaine gets stopped for speeding, but uses her charm to get out of a ticket.
Can't you give me 3 sample to a pretty lady?
Sure. Do you know one?
According to the experts, men are very fragile. They can get crushed down if you assert yourself in any way.
Elaine meets her new landlord, Trish, and the 2 of them go out for tea in this super pink feminine tea shop. Elaine shares with Trish how her husband quote-unquote left her and that she feels like she has a better understanding of men now than when she did when she was married.
What do men want? Just a pretty woman to love and to take care of them and to make them feel like a man and to give them total freedom in whatever they want to do or be. Giving men sex is a way of unlocking their love potential.
Trish is like, what the hell are you on about? And shares how she feels like Elaine has been brainwashed by the patriarchy because of this ideology. Trish admits that she did receive some gifts, like an engagement ring, because she gave in to her husband Richard, but believes that Richard loves her for herself and not just for sexual pleasure. Elaine immediately spots a man who enters, and it's Richard. Richard notices Elaine too. After a brief stare-off, Richard then greets his wife.
Guess who?
Richard.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Elaine is then painting on a canvas in her room, and we see how she crafts some of her spells. What I find really interesting about these scenes is that there isn't any ominous, scary music playing. In fact, the music is calm, cheerful, and almost made up to appear as if this is as ordinary as baking cookies. I mean, there is a point where she drinks her concoction and repeats the phrase, "love me," over and over while spread out on the floor, but that's not that weird, right? Elaine visits a magical apothecary and offers some of her herbs, natural soaps, and spells so she could sell in the shop. The woman agrees and Elaine leaves. This scene is rather quick and to the point. Kind of reminds me of the "Hello, Doggy" from The Room.
How much is it?
It'll be $18.
Here you go. Keep the change. Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Elaine enjoys her sandwich at the park bench and notices a man talking with a woman. She gives the man a stare, and the man stops talking to the woman he was talking to then approach Elaine. The 2 talk, and Elaine shares how much she loves nature.
I'll bet you like to spend time in the woods.
That's right. How'd you know?
I can just tell.
The man's name is Wayne, and he is a professor at the college in town. The 2 hit it off, and he shares that he has a cabin that he likes to go to when he wants to get away from the city for a while. Elaine uses this information to ask if he has a wife, and if he usually takes girls back to his place.
Well, you might at least take a girl up there once in a while.
I do. Once in a while.
You want to take a girl up there now?
Wayne takes Elaine back to his place, and immediately wants to get it on with Elaine in the car. Elaine makes Wayne take a sip of her flask and encourages him to finish the whole thing. Once inside, Elaine makes herself comfortable and gets started on dinner. During dinner, Wayne shares about how stressful being a professor can be towards the end of the semester. Suddenly, he starts to feel a bit strange. He asks Elaine what she put in the flask, and she said that, it's just berries, vodka, and hallucinogenic herbs.
What? Oh, baby! You are really wild!
While in a hallucinogenic trance, Elaine strips for him and reveals that the line design of her black coat is a bright rainbow. It messes with Wayne's vision, and she proves how horrible of a trip sitter she is when she tells Wayne that she's gifting him the rainbow, creating this deeper meaning when she's just handing him her coat.
What are you talking about? Dude, you look crazy right now. Are you okay?
After the two get freaky, Wayne's post-nut clarity kicks in.
No woman has ever given herself like that to me before.
Life has been tough, huh?
Yeah. In a way.
Wayne goes to say that she's not like other girls, compares her to his other relationships, and then he starts to lose control of his emotions.
I'm not used to feeling things so strongly. I can't take it. I can't take it. Oh. Elaine. I'm sick. I'm sick.
Hey. It's alright. I've got you. I love you. And I'll always be here for you.
It's funny that she says that because it's total bullshit and she leaves him in his room. Still not sober from the hallucinogenics, mind you. Wayne is screaming her name in agony because he feels like he is dying without her by his side.
What a pussy.
Elaine then inner monologues and says how disappointed she is in this man and how she feels stronger than him because no one ever comforted her when she would cry her eyes out. Elaine sleeps on the couch and returns to the bedroom with breakfast for Wayne. Wayne looks awful and asks Elaine if she still loves him.
You love me, don't you?
Of course I love you.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's clear that Wayne is repressing something much more deeper here. Elaine then goes off to do a tarot card reading. Now, I never used tarot cards and I don't know much about the meanings, but I did some research and I found that the cards Elaine drew are the 5 Cups, signifying grief, loss, and dwelling on past disappointments. The Tower, associating with danger, sudden change, higher learning, and liberation. And the final card drawn is the 3 of Swords, which signifies deep emotional pain and heartbreak. Elaine looks uneasy after the final card reading and quickly checks on Wayne. When turning him over, it's revealed that Wayne is dead, presumably of an overdose. Elaine mourns for a bit, but then we quick cut to her naked picking flowers in his garden. After picking flowers, she... oh man, how do I explain this on YouTube? She uses the bathroom in a jar and places a used, female cylindrical device inside the jar along with herbs.
Part of me can be with Wayne now. Always.
Elaine buries Wayne and monologues about how death is a part of life and that she has buried others before. She shares her belief of reincarnation and shares that she wishes to return as a cat. And you know what? I get that. Elaine burns her coat on top of Wayne's makeshift grave, giving him the rainbow one last time.
Taste the rainbow, motherfucker!
Elaine thank you next her way out of the house in the woods and goes back to her place to finish her new painting. Trish rings Elaine's doorbell to tell her that she'll be going to a work convention in Dallas. Elaine asks if her husband Richard will be joining her, and Trish says no. Alright, that's enough Ariana Grande jokes. The scene then changes to a packed cabaret at night. The bartender at this club shares with the waitress that there has been a few murders around town. Not only that, but the recent body found near the river has a pentagram carved onto it.
Damn witches again. That's what I was thinking too, Lyle.
Elaine is then shown sitting with Barbara, and she thanks her for the new apartment. She also shares that the police were constantly asking her questions about her husband Jerry's death. Don't you just hate that? Stop questioning me, copper.
What murder?
Elaine shares what happened to Wayne with Barbara, but leaves out the little detail about, his death. And Barbara says that some men just can't handle all the raw emotions that come with love. We then meet Gain, who appears to be the leader of the coven Barbara and Elaine are a part of. Elaine turns her head during Gain's greeting, and doesn't look that comfortable with him as she does with Barbara. The three bless their drinks loudly, and one rowdy customer angrily tells them,
Go home, witches! Go home.
Barbara and Gain tell Elaine not to worry about him, because the town isn't hostile to witches. They also share that they're hosting classes for new witches who wish to join them. Speaking of, two young women named Star and Moon arrive at the table to observe their lesson from Gain on the power of dance.
Do you see how powerful that girl is? These men would do anything for her. Wouldn't you like to have that power yourselves?
Barbara and Gain speak in detail the power between the two sexes, how they both are different, but true equality lies within the difference. Interesting take. This is where the movie's themes begin to show. That, ultimately, women do have some sort of power over man. It may not be easily visible, but the emotional power of love, or maybe even lust, can easily be the downfall of any person. Elaine is now home and has an altar for an unknown man, Wayne, and her husband Jerry. As Elaine unwinds for her day, we hear past conversations from her husband Jerry. Jerry's voice is calm, soothing, but the way he's speaking to Elaine comes off very patronizing.
Dinner was late 3 times this week, and the house is a total pigsty. You need to take better care of yourself and of the house.
Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting a clean partner, but the inner conversations go on and on about her appearance, wifely duties, and how he expects her to have dinner done at a certain time. It's almost as if he's talking to her as if she were a child. We then hear another voice. This one is her father's. This voice is harsh, angry, and is berating Elaine with insults, calling her an idiot, useless, and fat. As both voices talk to her in her head, we are shown clips of Elaine's inauguration into the coven she is a part of. Without any words said during the scene, it's clear that Elaine is uncomfortable being surrounded by strangers while being naked. The male mentor, Gain, is leading the ritual for her to learn love and sex magic. To end the ritual, Gain mounts Elaine and pins her down. The scene ends, and it is insinuated that Elaine was not 100% comfortable with what happened. Being extremely vulnerable before or after the death of Jerry, Elaine was taken advantage of. This explains why she is cold to Gain. We are now in the police station, where this officer who stopped Elaine in the beginning is now promoted to sergeant. He flirts with another officer, and we learn that he is sort of a ladies' man.
Is there any coffee?
Yeah, I just made some. I made it just the way you like it.
Is there anything you don't do well?
Why don't you try me sometime and find out?
Alright, I see what's going on here. I want to see these two fight now. Which one is going to cave into the other first? Wayne's student goes to the station for help on locating him because Wayne has been missing for weeks. She shares that he has a cabin in the woods where he likes to take some of his dates to. I wonder how she also knows about this place. Griff and his partner Steve scope the scene. They find the buried body as well as the pee-pee jar and begin to dig out Wayne. Meanwhile, Elaine is sharing cake with Richard while Trish is away at Dallas. Elaine asks if Richard gets lonely when Trish goes away, and the two talk about marriage and how it can be hard to maintain.
Sometimes I think Trish would like to get away from me too.
Poor baby.
Elaine offers Richard a drink from the largest f***ing goblet or wine glass in existence, and Richard starts to feel
Loosey-goosey, baby. Loosey-goosey.
one thing leads to another, and Richard and Elaine are aggressively embracing each other on the couch.
Who are you? What are you doing to me?
I'm the love witch.
He said it! He said it!
Back at the police station, Griff tells his partner that he's going to visit a local witch doctor, a professor who studied black magic and witchcraft, so he can help him identify some of the items. He shows the professor the pee-pee bottle, and he shares that it's a witch bottle. They are used to scare evil spirits and are usually buried in a hearse. The following scene I can't show on YouTube cause everybody is naked.
Good grief, he's naked!
A large ritual is performed for incoming witches of all ages, races, and genders. After the ritual, it's party time. Cheerful, cheesy 60s party music plays, and they depict it as a normal shindig. Just with people walking around in their birthday suits and pentagrams everywhere. Gain asks Elaine how she's doing, and Elaine tells him that she's still looking for love and that it's difficult.
Everybody hates me!
Gain then tells her that it can't be as bad as her victims. Gain shares how he might know about the deaths Elaine is causing, but is almost aroused by it, and takes the opportunity to grope Elaine. She pushes him off her and immediately goes to her other mentor, Barbara. She shares with Barbara that her new man, Richard, is a bit too clingy, didn't want to have sex anymore, and often cried.
There's no polarity. But I should have known. He's a Pisces.
Richard seems so desperate without Elaine, and we see tarot cards on the table across from him. These cards are the Nine of Swords, depicting guilt, secrets, and pain. The Three of Swords, which, if you forgot, means heartbreak. And the last card, the Devil, representing temptation, addiction, and the feeling of being trapped. He can't muster the courage to even look at his wife Trish in the eyes, and he cries loudly in the living room, causing Trish to worry for him. Griff finds the only witch store in town and asks the cashier if she sells any witch piss. To which she's like, "You're in luck, pal, this crazy bitch keeps giving him to us." Griff now has a lead suspect. Griff finds Elaine's apartment, to which she's a bit standoffish at first, but agrees to answer some questions. She occasionally switches her tone while talking to him.
So you say there was a homicide? How horrible. Who was killed?
However, she quickly changes the tone back when she realizes that Griff isn't there for games.
A man named Wayne Peters. Did you know Wayne Peters?
No.
Griff asks her about the bottle and questions if she was at Wayne's burial site. Luckily, saved by the, cauldron, Elaine rushes to continue her potion making. Griff straight up asks the question if she's a witch, to which she admits.
Diane, is there a law against that?
I guess not. Not unless you do something wrong.
Do you think that being a witch makes me evil? Capable of murder, even?
Elaine turns her body, and Griff goes to comfort and apologize for questioning her faith and making it appear as if it was wrong to be a witch. Elaine forgives him and gives him the stare, and Griff's attitude also changes. Elaine begins to ponder and has this feeling she's met Griff before. Griff agrees, to which this sends Elaine into pure joy. Elaine believes Griff is her true love because of her recent tarot card reading. She shares that she believed that the reading was to point her into the direction of the man she was supposed to marry.
The man that I marry has to love animals. Do you like animals, Griff?
Griff shares that he has a friend out of town who owns horses and invites her on a date to ride horses. The two seem to really hit it off, and they share a kiss while they hitch their horses. Suddenly, their kissing is interrupted by the sound of music. When investigating, there is a large group of people all dressed medieval-like. There are tents pitched, food being served, and even a interesting performance happening on a man-made stage. Oh, okay, so they found a bunch of nerdy LARPers while on their date. No big deal. But then Gain shows up. Griff, you're in enemy territory! Get out of there now!
On your feet, we are leaving!
Gain and Barbara share that they are celebrating the Midsummer and ask Elaine and Griff to join them.
I see two people in love. This calls for a wedding.
A wedding?
The jester explained that it's a mock wedding, simply to honor the gods of love. Griff and Elaine are swept away to two different tents and are all giddy as they get dressed up all in white for their mock wedding. Both exit their tents donning crowns as if they are king and queen. They perform a wedding ritual where the phrase tying the knot originates from, and everyone watches them with pure joy. Elaine and Griff sit down and begin to feed each other. Aw, look at them being all lovey-dovey and smiling.
I'm not in love.
So that was a fucking lie.
Griff has an inner monologue talking about how he isn't cold-hearted, but that love is soft.
Oh, it's so... What the? Why are you recording?
And that being a cop has made him hard. Pause. Elaine then speaks and is obviously in love with Griff. She goes on about learning to love all the quirks the more you know someone, and how those quirks become your life.
The more you get to know a woman, the less you can feel about her.
Griff continues his thoughts by saying the feminine ideal only exists in a man's mind, that soon your love will reveal the little flaws about themselves, and it slowly becomes harder to care or feel the same way when you first met. Ouch. Back at the station, Steve, Griff's partner if you forgot, comes to share tons of information that he found about Elaine. Griff tells him to drop it and that Wayne's death was just a heart attack. Steve notices this change within Griff and argues with him about the morality of just letting a potential murder go by.
We're laying off her.
Because of orders, or because you're in love with her?
Who says I'm in love with her?
Ooh, Griff and Elaine sitting in a tree. Kissin. Griff leaves his office while Steve yells at him for being out of line.
Oh, shiver my timbers! Shut up, man!
We then see what Trish and Richard are up to. Trish goes to check on Richard and finds his body in the bathtub where he, unfortunately, game ended himself. Trish is devastated, and we cut to a few days later when she is having brunch with Elaine. Elaine comforts Trish by saying that she was a great wife, and Trish blames herself for not giving herself up more to Richard. That perhaps she should have leaned more into his fantasies in order to feel happier. But then she ponders how he changed after her trip to Dallas.
Wait a minute!
She assumes that there was an affair, and she wishes death on this mistress.
I wanted to kill them both. If I ever found out who she was, I would rip her to pieces.
Elaine is then like,
Oh my god, who the hell cares?
and goes on about how she believes she met the man of her dreams. She goes on about all the things that she's happy about and talks about how she believes Griff might ask her to marry her really soon. Elaine ends brunch early, and Trish notices that she forgot her mock wedding ring on the table. She calls to let her know that she'll stop by and leave the ring in her apartment. While in the apartment, Trish takes it upon herself to do some snooping. She sees all forms of art that depict sex and nudity, Bunsen burners for potion making, and lingerie scattered everywhere. She enters Elaine's bedroom and sits at her vanity desk staring at herself. Something here must have snapped within Trish, because she begins to apply Elaine's makeup, wig extensions, and even some of her lingerie.
Why can't I be you?
While Trish is feeling herself, she slowly realizes that her husband's photo is on Elaine's desk. Trish doesn't believe this and quickly searches for more clues that link Elaine to being the mistress. She finds a spell scroll that reads, "Love spell for Richard," finds some sort of doll, and even a birthday card addressed to Elaine from Richard. Trish is shaken and mortified. We then see Elaine slowly sneaking behind Trish with a knife. Trish quickly turns and lunges towards Elaine. Wow. You really coined the phrase, "I'm a lover, not a fighter," huh, Elaine? After Trish smacks her up a bit, she gathers all the evidence she can find and leaves her apartment. Elaine rushes to grab one of her pendants and prays for the death of Trish.
Crash. Die. Die.
We then slowly fade to a ritual that Elaine has asked her coven to perform on her, binding her and Griff so that they'll forever be inseparable. After the ritual, Griff is drinking at the cabaret bar. The showgirls on stage are now Star and Moon, who are doing exactly what Gain had told them to do if they wanted to have control over men. One waitress shares with the bartender that they can't dance and that the performance just comes across as weird. Well, no matter how weird she finds it, the men in the bar are cheering the two on like crazy. This one guy, who I guess is a regular, says that he knows that they are friends with the witches who come in here. Elaine enters and Griff breaks the news to her that the DNA found at Wayne's burial site matches Elaine's. He also said that Trish went to the police station and shared all the evidence she found in her apartment. Griff almost looks a bit heartbroken to share this news with her, as if he didn't want this to be true. Elaine truly believes that she didn't kill anyone, and the fact that both Wayne and Richard are dead is because that they couldn't handle the deep feelings of love. Griff also blames the drugs used in her potion, to which Elaine says that witchcraft is just about channeling energy and that she's just used what was already there within them. Griff shames her and says that with her way of thinking, no love is enough for her. But Elaine retorts this by saying that she shows the most sincerest of loves, that only men are the ones who make women work so hard for them to love them.
That is not true.
Hello, welcome in. What's your name?
Destiny.
Destiny, how old are you?
I'm 24.
And what do you do?
Ronnie is at the club hooking up with grenades. Okay, that is a bigger, ugly chick. And then also landmines, which is a thin, ugly chick.
You have to be able to make me food and stuff, and you have to have a hot body and preferably big boobs. I like nice butts and lovely boobs.
All my life, I've been tossed in the garbage. Except when men wanted to use my body. So I decided to find my own power. And I found that power through witchcraft. That means that I take what I need from men, and not the other way around.
Griff continues his arrest and mentions how she's going to jail for illegally burying Wayne. This causes the bar to freak out because the murderous witches are inside the bar with them. The crowd begins to chant, "Burn the witch," and a group of men pull Elaine away from Griff and hold Griff back. They then begin to... Whoa, what the f... That's not how you burn things! Thankfully, Griff stops the awful men and escapes into the police car with Elaine. Back at the apartment, Elaine fixes Griff a homemade drink and wishes to thank her hero. Griff, on the other hand, looks pissed. Creepy dreamlike music begins to play, and we see Elaine begin to look nervous. She offers the drink, and Griff pours it out on the floor and gives her this stare. Elaine is now frozen with fear, for she is no longer looking at the face of a man in love, but the complete opposite. It is the face of pure hatred. She looks down and also sees the tarot card, Three of Swords. Elaine moves away from Griff, but the stare follows her and even appears to her as a skull, symbolizing the death of their relationship. She is briefly haunted by her past lovers, who all repeat,
I love you, Elaine. I love you, Elaine. I love you, Elaine.
Then stares at herself in the mirror, holding a rose, trying to comfort herself. For whatever reason, Griff decides to lay back onto the bed, and Elaine takes this opportunity to quickly run up and stab him in the heart 3 times. We hear Griff's short breaths for air, and Elaine sinks into her bed, holding the knife. This is the best shot in the film, in my opinion. It's creepy, poetic, maybe even a bit depressing, but it will make you feel something. Elaine's fears begin to slowly disappear when she stares blankly across her room and envisions this.
I love you, Elaine. I've never loved anyone but you. I want to marry you.
We slow transition to their mock wedding, this time in complete silence. The band begins to play, but no music is heard. The only sounds are the birds chirping in the distance and the shuffling of feet. Other than that, the silence is loud in this scene. The jester brings out a unicorn, and Elaine climbs on top of it. Griff and Elaine walk away slowly, with nothing but the sound of the horse's hooves clopping against the ground. We cut back and forth between Elaine's realities, and the final shot is a close-up of Elaine smiling as she's whisked away in her fantasy. Wow. Oof, I get chills watching that scene. Whether you believe it or not, I think Elaine is just as a victim in this story. Having unfortunate experiences with almost every man in her life, including her own father, she has grown to be a person who doesn't fully realize her self-worth, or rather doesn't have self-love. Her idea of love is very fantastical, which isn't bad, but it's almost as if she refuses to admit that these men are real, but more like candidates for her fantasy, her perfect man.
Husband isn't a prince, Elaine, and life isn't a fairy tale. We have to face that fact.
Obviously, these men aren't the cream of the crop. Wayne is a skeezy guy who lures his students to his cabin for sex with no commitment. Richard cheated on his wife, and Griff believes that love makes men weak. Elaine kinda reminds me of Pearl from the movie Pearl. a person who escapes their trauma or grief through fantasy, with no real friends or family to assist them. Both needed severe help, and both tried to fill it with either the idea of fame or the idea of love. Do I think Elaine is a real witch and her potions really work? No. In fact, I think the whole coven isn't what Elaine needed to better herself. Sure, she gained confidence, but also had to endure SA, and now lives with the idea that she can control emotions through magic. I believe she masks her trauma with the idea that she gained witch-like powers, because if she did not gain anything from having to endure that ritual from Gain, she will ultimately feel as if she were used and worthless. What was it all for, if not for her idea of love? There are so many themes to pick out from this movie, to gender roles, feminist empowerment, the patriarchy, and self/mental health. I really enjoyed this film, and I was surprised to hear that not many people are aware of its existence. If you're looking for a horror film to watch during the month of February, I'd recommend this one. I hope you enjoy this video and that you stick around by subscribing. I like talking about horror movies, playing VR games.
You better stay away, buddy. You better stay away, buddy. Stay the f away! Ah!
And exploring my city of NYC. Let me know in the comments what you think about this film. Also, feel free to ask me what other spooky content you'd like me to review. Hope to see more of you in the future. Later.